as the views are nice. On one side you have the Adriatic, on the other side you have those red typical roofs of Dubrovnik. Croatians arrived and they destroyed Cavtat, which back then it was the main settlement on the coast. Legend has it that out of those 40,000 people that lived in Cavtat, only 6 families survived. And they escaped, they managed to flee, to escape the usurper by actually abandoning Cavtat, by abandoning their homes. And further up the coast, they, on a rocky peninsula, they established a new settlement. From that settlement, Dubrovnik. And then again, it depends where you are seated. You are then able to see now the slopes of Srđ mountain. There is a cable car nowadays, which goes all the way up to the top of the mountain. And again, when the weather is clear, the views are absolutely stunning. The name of the city, Dubrovnik, what are the origins of its name? Well, we said that nowadays we've got so many different sort of trees and plants from all over the world that are happy to grow in this part of the world because of the mild climate. But we said that the indigenous tree was the oak tree. And once upon a time the slopes of all of these mountains along the coast were covered with lush forests of oak trees. But most of them are gone because, well, the city-state of Dubrovnik owned these areas. They had a large merchant fleet, so many of those trees were chopped down to build ships. This is what they used to do, because, you know, when they were building those wooden galleons, of course for the stronger part of the ships hardwood was used, well, let's say oak, while for, let's say, for planking, softwood was used, let's say such as pine, for example. So most of those oak trees are gone. But if we were to travel back in time, when the first Slavs got here, when they established a settlement in the area where Dubrovnik developed nowadays, they called the new settlement Dubrava. And Dubrava is a Slavic word which means oak tree forest. So if we were to translate the name of our city, it would translate as the city of oak trees. So this is literally what Dubrovnik means.
Well, here we are.
California coast.
Yeah, it looks a little bit like the California coast. Yeah, well, actually, out here those rocks do look like Pebble Beach. That 17-mile drive. The rest of it doesn't. Oh, over there's more coastline that could be around Carmel.
This was a good suggestion.
Oh yes. Let's see, sit inside with a beautiful view and drink some coffee and tea, or walk around in the pouring rain through an ancient village.
Driving down the road, which was named after Pope John Paul II, who actually visited Croatia in 94, 98 and 2003. And at the end there is a small church, a Franciscan complex, and right in front there is a statue of Pope John Paul II, who during his last visit he held a mass in Gružhava in front of 50,000 faithful.
Here is our nice home away from home. We have a queen-size bed. We've got 2 of these little places to store things. That goes to our tiny patio. That goes to our tiny bathroom. And here's where we've had to put a suitcase. And there's a little tiny storage there. And we do have a closet there. And some drawers there. And a closet there. And a TV. And that's all she wrote, folks.
Talking about Dubrovnik, the old city-state, then we are referring always to the part of the town which is surrounded by defensive walls. Of course, in the Middle Ages, there was literally nothing outside the walls for defensive purposes. Of course, all the buildings, all people lived within the walls of Dubrovnik. But then in the 16th century, when the city-state purchased the areas north and south from the city itself, then 16th century was a safe period in the past of Dubrovnik. So then local nobility, they started building their summer villas, summer residences on the outskirts of Dubrovnik, and from 16th century onwards. Then the new part, what we nowadays referring to as the new part, started developing. The old part of the town is slowly started to open up in front of us, and right in front there is the largest of the fortifications of the towers. And this is the corner tower called Minchetta Tower. And as soon as we'll pass the Minchetta, the view straight ahead will open up to the northern section of the walls. And look at this view that is just about to open up in front of us. Look at the walls. Isn't this gorgeous? It is absolutely fantastic. So Minchetta Tower, the fortress, the tower of St. Lucy, St. Barbara, St. Catherine, St. James, and so on. So on the four main corners, four largest fortresses were built, and then over the centuries, additional 16 square towers were built around the walls, of course, for better protection.
This is why we're not staying here in front of the town. It is pretty rough. And here's a fortress built by the Venetians here in Dubrovnik. Over here we have the fort, a little corner of the fort.
So, Split is the main draw of the southern part of Croatia. I have to say no.
Dubrovnik is the 13th largest city in Croatia. Nobody out here. 150 years. This was an independent country. Stretch for 1.2 miles and about 16 acres.
There are people walking all the way around the walls. So you can walk all the way around the walls without any problems whatsoever. But again, it's slippery. When wet, some of those things, they are up to 6 meters. 6 meters, 20 feet thick. And as I said, for better protection on the four corners, because Dubrovnik, you see on the map as well, it's got a rough square shape. So on the four corners, the four main fortresses have been built. For example, here we can see this cylindrical fortress which acquired its present-day appearance in the 16th century. And back in those days, it was used to test cannons. So cannons were fired from this fortress to test the rain. And then 16 square towers, like the one over here, have been built over the centuries all the way around the walls of the eastern side.
This is St. Lawrence Fortress.
Well, a limestone outcrop, it is some 120 feet above the sea. And the fortress was built already in the 11th century. It was built to act as a potential, as a lookout for potential invaders. The little door, which is the entrance to this fortress, there are 118 steps which lead to the door, and chiseled above the main entrance on the lintel stone, there is the motto of the Republic, which is a longish Latin sentence which reads, Non bene pro toto libertas venditur auro, which can be translated as freedom is not to be sold for all the gold in the world. And they knew very well how to protect their freedom. They managed to keep it for 480 years. Marching down the street, down the coast,
Napoleon.
reclaiming the lands now that belonged to him. And then, in 1806, he reached the territories of Dubrovnik. It was crystal clear that the city, who had around 200 soldiers, couldn't fight the French with 1,200 soldiers. And then what happened in May 1806, they surrendered the keys to Napoleon, the keys of the city gates, the keys to the fortresses. Napoleon entered the city, and 2 years after that, January 31st, 1808, Napoleon abolished the city-state of Dubrovnik as well. For Dubrovnik, we like to say, walls of stone, heart of art, like Utrogir. So let's pop inside and see what...